All right, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about how to build a truly unshakable mind, a way to make sure that no insult, no criticism, no provocation can ever mess with your inner peace again. I mean, just pause and really think about that for a second. What would actually change in your life if you had total command over your own composure? If what other people did was just powerless against you? Now, this isn't about ignoring the world or pretending you don't have feelings. It's actually the complete opposite. It's a very deliberate, very calculated strategy of mastering yourself. And that gives you the ultimate upper hand in pretty much any situation. So here's the roadmap to get there. We've got 5 key stages. First, we'll lay down the framework, the unshakable mind. Then we'll talk about guarding your inner fortress, playing the long game, harnessing the power in your silence, and finally, getting to a state of true self-sovereignty. It is so important to get this from the very beginning. What we're about to go through is not a bunch of personality traits you're either born with or you're not. Nope. This is a learnable strategy. It's a set of tools for taking complete and total control of your own mind. And that brings us to our very first pillar, guarding your inner fortress. The big idea here is that every single battle you face is won or lost inside your own head, long before anything happens out in the real world. So let's talk about how to lock that place down. This right here is the absolute foundation of everything. Nothing anyone says, nothing anyone does, has any power to upset you on its own. It's all neutral. You are the one who gives it power. You're the one who decides what it means. And this is the critical difference you have to make in your mind. Over here, you've got their actions, all that external stuff you can't control. But over here, you have your inner world, your perception, the meaning you choose to give it, and your response. That's where all your power is. Okay, on to our second principle, mastering emotional detachment. Now, I know what that sounds like. It sounds cold, maybe uncaring, but that's not what this is about. Think of it more like strategic armor that keeps your head clear. See, detachment is a huge strategic advantage. It stops other people from pulling on your emotional strings like you're some kind of puppet. When you're detached, your choices come from logic, not from a flash of anger. You can actually feel an emotion pop up, look at it, and then choose not to let it drive you. That, right there, is real power. So once our internal world is secure, we can start to turn our focus outward. It's time to shift from just playing defense to playing with strategy. And that means learning how to play the long game with everything you do and say. You know, being able to see what's coming is a form of power. If you can anticipate why people are doing what they're doing, you can stay a few steps ahead of them. You can neutralize a provocation before it even gets close to you. Most of the time, these provocations aren't just random attacks. They come from these really common human drivers. So when you realize that criticism is often just envy in disguise, or an insult is really just coming from someone's deep insecurity, it totally loses its sting. You see it for what it is, a reflection of them, not you. This leads us to a really critical discipline. You have to prioritize outcomes over your emotions. Think about it. There's a massive difference between that split-second satisfaction of a snappy comeback and the lasting power that comes from being strategically patient. Before you do anything, you gotta ask yourself, does this actually help my long-term goals? So here's how you actually do that. Instead of that knee-jerk reaction, you run a 4-step play. First, you just pause. Don't do anything. Second, you anticipate their motive. Why are they doing this? Third, you assess your own long-term goal. And only then, after all that, do you act with purpose and calculation. Now, let's talk about a tool that really shows off all that inner strength we've been building. Sometimes, believe it or not, the most powerful thing you can do has nothing to do with what you say, but everything to do with what you don't. Look, if you respond to every little poke and prod, you're just handing over your power. You're showing them they got under your skin. Silence, though. Silence is a shield. And don't ever think silence is passive. It's an active, powerful weapon. It starves them of the reaction they're dying for. It makes you look incredibly confident. It buys you precious time to think. And most of all, it sends a crystal clear message. My inner peace is mine, and you can't have it. And all of this leads to the final piece of the puzzle, the absolute peak, internalizing self-sovereignty. This is all about building an inner empire that is so strong, so self-reliant, that all the chaos of the outside world, it just becomes irrelevant background noise.
Getting to this state of self-sovereignty, that's the ultimate goal here. It's the point where every single principle we've talked about just fuses together into one seamless mindset of total self-mastery.
So here's the bottom line. By actually putting these 6 principles into practice, controlling your perceptions, mastering detachment, anticipating behavior, playing the long game, using silence, and finally internalizing your own sovereignty, you literally forge a mind that cannot be shaken. This quote just says it all, doesn't it? Anger is the weapon of the unwise. Composure is the crown of the powerful. Real power is never measured by how loud you can yell, but by how deep your self-control runs. And that's the question I really want to leave you with. Your inner peace is your most valuable asset. So after all this, who are you going to give the power to disturb it? Because at the end of the day, the only one who can make that decision is you. The choice is always yours.